So going back to my wireframe, I've created this layout. As you can see here, I've got the header, the body, and the footer. Then we've got the filter type menu, which you can see here. So what I've done now is when you click on filter type, it collapses to the button choose a filter type so you can get back to that menu. And below that you see the selections of whichever filter type you've selected, in this case tech stack. You see the various technologies to choose from. And once you have one or more filter, then below that you'll see the current filters. Then you can click on any of those to toggle it to a not state. And below that, you will see the results. Every time there's a change to a filter, it'll automatically search the results. And currently, I'm just displaying the company and the tech stack for that job. Then when you click on one of these, you see the full results and you can apply and close that. So let me show you, I've got that working. So here's the choose a filter type menu. I'm going to click on tech stack and you can see the choices below. You can scroll. I limit this to 20 options. Then I can select one, and you can see now I have current filters, and I've clicked on Bootstrap 3.x, and then I can click that and say not Bootstrap 3.x, and my results update dynamically. And then I can click on a particular job to get further results, and you see the company name and the tech stack, and then you can click apply or close it, and then you've got all the other information that goes along with the job. These are all filters: education required, employee type, dress code, pets, industry. And beyond the filters, you have more information. For example, near the bottom, I've displaying company size, the description using lorem ipsum for now, the address, contact name, contact phone number, contact email, and website. One thing I don't like about job descriptions is there's not a whole lot of contact information if you want to ask questions about the job. I mean, you do that in the interview, but it would be nice to have a contact phone number. You can call somebody, email them, and so on. So I have the option of changing whichever technology I want, or I can just drag and select multiple. And you can do this for mobile as well. I could hold the control key down and control click and select multiple items. Then I can go back and select a different filter and select some more things and select as many filters as I want. Of course, you get to the point where you have no results. Now, let's say I've filtered too much and I have no results. Now I can then delete some of these. And of course I could toggle to a not state and delete stuff. These jobs are not actual jobs. In fact, there's no database. I just randomized showing the different companies that I have in my choose a filter type. I've got popular companies here. So I just randomized on this list. The technologies shown are just randomly generated from the tech stack list. If you look closely, there are duplicates. I didn't bother to filter out if I've listed a technology twice, because this is just a proof of concept on how this website might be put together, how it might work. And this as well. All of these are just random. I'm not getting any of this from any static JSON files or any remote database. It's all just randomly generated. So I want to cover in the code how this is implemented. When I click a filter type, that then disappears and we see this user interface, choose a filter type, and the filter menus. And we can click this and it goes back. It only shows one or the other. So I have one Boolean variable which is true when it's showing this and false when it's showing this. So I'll show you how I've implemented that. And then when you select a filter, you suddenly see these two controls, current filters, which I refer to as active filters in the code, and the results. These are tied together, so you always see both of these components, this component and the results component. So if I were to get rid of a filter, they both go away. If I add another filter, they return. So in my home component is where I show those 4 different components. The filter type menu shows the filter types, the filter choose menu, which is the filters that you choose from, and then I have the active filters, the current filters, and the results. And you can see that the active filters and show results hide and show based on this one Boolean variable. And the filter type menu and the filter choose menu have like an if-else situation going on here with this Boolean variable show filter type menu. So when it's true, you see the filter type menu. When it's false, you see the filter choose menu. Now let's cover the click logic for when I click on one of these. How do I display the filter menu? So the component that displays the filter type menu is filter type menu, and I have added a click event handler which calls show filter and passes it the index from map, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So 0 would be tech stack, 1 payments, 2 industry, 3 benefits. Now you can see that show filter is passed as a prop. So inside the home component is where I render filter type menu, and you can see this is where I pass it the show filter function, which is defined here. And that sets show results to true, because if you have a filter, you always show the results. I set the filter type menu to false, so the type menu hides, and at the same time the choose menu shows. Then I set list and set label, and I pass it the filter data sub show index dot list and the set label filter data show index dot label. Set list and set label are defined at the top here with uState. So it's setting list and label to whichever you pick. If, for example, it was tech stack, then it would set the label to tech stack, and it would set the list equal to the list of technologies. So the filter data is an array of these objects, as I've mentioned before, which have label, index, and list. And label is that label, in this case tech stack that I mentioned, and the list would be the list of technologies. And index is where it goes in the array. Next, I want to cover the onChange event. Some interesting things happen in the code when you click here or you select things from here. It doesn't use the click event, it uses the onChange event on a select. On the select element, you can see it has an ID of filter choose menu, and it has an onChange event handler. I call the function handle change, which is defined here. Now, rather than have me walk you through the code and explain each line by line, it'd be much easier if we cover this in the debugger, and then we can actually inspect the values as it runs. So it's actually more interesting to do a run when there's multiple filters defined, and even more interesting to see what happens when you redefine an existing filter. And you can see I've defined filters on the tech stack, benefits, and mobile. Now, let's say I want to change some things on the tech stack. Let's go inspect sources, and I'm going to drill down into static.js, f:/web, Fronty, source, components, and filter choose menu. And here is the handle change. I'm going to put a breakpoint there, and let's change the tech stack to all the versions of React that I have here. And when I release, I get an onChange event, and it calls handle change. And you can see that the collection is now the 3 that I selected. So React 15.x. Then let me set a breakpoint to here, We're going to go iterate and add those strings to filters. Now before I create my new object with my filters, let me show you the existing object. You can see that it has benefits, mobile, and tech stack. These are the properties in the object. And each contains an array of string which has the filters that I've selected. And currently it's Angular 5.x, Angular 6.x, 7.x, 8.x, and so on. Now I'm going to change this to the 3 React that I've chosen using this syntax. The 3 dots are the spread operator for this object. So I'm spreading out the properties in the object into this new object, and then I'm adding a new property, in this case tech stack, which will overwrite the existing tech stack with the new array. So let's execute this. And now in new active filters, you can see benefits are the same, mobile is the same, but tech stack is now the values of React that I've set. So if we hit continue, you can see that the tech stack has now been updated. Next, I want to cover what happens when I delete a filter. For example, mobile. Let's take a look. Inside the show active filters, when I click this delete icon, I have a function called handle delete, which is defined right up here. Put a breakpoint here, and let's delete benefits. So what I do is I get the filter object and I use the spread operator to put that into a new object. So you can see it has benefits and tech stack. And then I call delete and tell it which property in the object to delete. So let's run that line. And we want to delete the benefits property. So now if we hover over it, you can see that it just has tech stack. And then I call the set active filters and pass it the new object. Next, I want to cover when I click one of these filters, it changes its label to have the word not. If you look here on this line, I have an on-click event which calls toggle filter, and it passes the label and then the index to delete. So this would be index 0, 1, 2. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here, and let's step through this. I'm going to click on React 16.x and let's inspect, and you can see it's the tech stack that we're modifying, index 1. So the active filters object, I spread it into new active filters, identical copy. I get the current value, and I just check to see if it starts with not, colon, and if it does, I strip it out, and if it doesn't, I add it in. And you can see the new value now, it has it. Then I take the new value and set it. So now if we hover over new active filters, it now says not React 16.x. I'm treating an object like an array. It's called an associative array. And if you have an object which has dynamic properties like I'm doing here, you can treat it like an array using array syntax here. So this is an object, and then I'm using array syntax to access a particular property in the object, and then I'm accessing an index within that array and setting it to the new string. Then I update it globally in my store. And let's run it. And you can see it now says not React 16.x.